I don't usually like jumping onto the newest trend or the flavor of the month, as I like to call it, but this time I feel like it's actually important that we have an open and honest discussion about this topic. So let's get right into it. And yes, by the way, this is considered a bonus video. Here at Cynical Apex Commentaries, we are going to discuss whether or not YouTube really needs to wake up, considering the recent movement that has been going on, or if YouTube is actually already woke to cover the troll trend, to follow what people like to say about stay woke or whatnot. So, okay, first of all, to give you guys a little overview of the situation, this YouTube user called MattsWhatItIs the other day released a video where he basically showed that YouTube was harboring, or rather, as he put it, enabling pedophiles or child exploitation to run rife after finding himself in a wormhole where it would just be underage girls, with the comment section being timestamps and other comments that were somewhat morally objectionable, is the best way to actually put what these comments were. It was like timestamping when they were in, well, we'll just say perilous situations, and people just feeding off that. Of course, mainly pedophiles or older people talking about these young, underage females, and him basically saying, hey YouTube, there's a loophole in your system that exploits it. This is something that I actually applaud people doing on the surface and in principle, because of the fact that if there is a loophole there, how are people going to know about it? How are we going to actually be able to discuss and fix this loophole to close it if we don't know it exists? And that is an issue I think I have with a lot of people. Like, they'll turn a blind eye to it. Maybe it's because of ignorance, as it likely is in this situation. Maybe it's because they're not quite aware of the gravity of the situation at the time. I know I wasn't before I saw the video. However, what I wanted to actually discuss is Matt's own approach to this. I personally don't agree with what he claims to be the solution. Not so much because it affects me or ad revenue. This channel, even if it was eligible to be monetized, wouldn't be monetized, and that's a personal thing. I'm not a big fan of using an unstable platform such as YouTube as my primary source of income. And that's something I feel like a lot of people don't quite understand, is that YouTube is an unstable and an unreliable source of income, especially when you think about it as popularity being fickle. One moment you can be rising, everything can be fine, and your monetization can be paying off. However, it can all nosedive at a moment's notice. We've seen it before. We've seen the flash in the pans. We've even seen some of the biggest names in YouTube's history tumble down. However, that is, again, another video's discussion, but it does tie into this because what Matt's solution to this is going after the advertisers and basically saying, hey, you should be looking at this. You should pull your advertisements from YouTube until they find a way to stop it. Yes, whilst that might work, it is merely a band-aid solution, because what does pulling advertisers really do? Does it fix the problem? No. Sure, it might be like, oh, our profit margins are going down, so we might have to fix this. But directly, just informing the advertisers of it will not fix the problem. Getting them to pull advertisements will not fix the problem. I'm not going to go into how it does indirectly affect all YouTubers by doing that, because that's just simply not part of the problem, as much as people might think, oh, this is affecting all of YouTube, so yes, it is part of the problem if they pull the ads. To an extent, yes. To an extent, no. And let me explain that further for you guys. Yes, in the way that it does affect income sources of YouTubers. However, that is not the root issue here. The root issue is that sometimes there is going to be collateral. Not that I agree with the collateral in this instance, because I feel like he's just using that as a band-aid and sort of feeding off the attention that he has been getting. I'm not saying that that he didn't necessarily hold altruistic intentions when he started, because I'm sure he did do this for the greater good, as he would probably put it. Rather, I think once everyone started to notice him, once everyone started to praise him, it got to his head, as we've seen with so many people that have gone down the rabbit hole of fame in the past. And that is where he has erred. That is where he has figured that the more drastic that his solution is, the more that maybe he can push this wake-up YouTube movement, this sort of cause to try to get it to as much gravity as possible, as he's shown as he sent it to actual news channels. I'm not against people doing that. Personally, I think as many mediums as you can get the problem out to, the more avenues of discussion that you do have, and the more that you can possibly drive the cause towards the answer, towards the solution. Now, do I believe in this particular instance that the media outlets, who usually, as we know, like to swoop on anything they can pick on social media, because of course it does somewhat threaten them, even if they don't want to admit it. We know that more people are turning to social media and YouTube for their news rather than using the traditional means of television or even radio. Yeah, now, looking at this from a more logical perspective, I don't like doing this too often because I don't necessarily think Kim has the right point or the right angle that he's taking on it either. But I do agree that YouTube are doing things behind the scenes. Once they were brought aware to the attention, once they were brought aware to the situation, simply because I think it was more from their point. Once they found out the loophole actually existed and it was there, then of course they're going to look to patch it up. That's just smart business. That's how you protect your bottom line. And they must be applauded for that, honestly, because there's a lot of companies that may have still just swept it under the rugs. Now, they have been removing channels. I'm not sure if they've been IP banning them, but I feel like in this case they actually do have to IP ban these channels, simply because if they don't, then it's just the easy workaround of creating a new account and the vicious cycle continuing as if YouTube actually weren't doing anything for it. When they are, as we can blatantly see, or as it's been discussed, they have been removing channel, they have been disabling comment section, which again I do feel like is a band-aid solution, because again, it doesn't fix the root cause of the problem, which is these underage perilous content actually existing in the first place. Now, I think Kim did put in a shot at Matt about his whole creepy videos and what I'm going to call a prank, even though I'm not sure if he was actually doing it in a joking sense or as a prank, where he asked a teenager if she wanted to be in an adult film, or where he went to his hometown of Victoria, British Columbia, Canada, and asked people, or females, if they wanted to appear in an adult film or an adult-oriented video. Again, as I said, I think that was mainly done as a prank, and I don't think that should take away from his cause. It's almost like going into an argument with someone who makes a valid point, but then being like, oh, this is coming from the person that did yada yada yada, in an attempt, almost a straw man of sorts, to refute their claims, even though you yourself know that there is an issue. Now, what I will say about Kim, though, however, is that him bringing it to light is actually a positive. It's something that brings eyes and ears onto it. It's something that gets it right out into the medium, because as you will learn, Matt's What It Is only had like 20k subs, which means that even though what he was saying was altruistic At least in my opinions initially, I don't feel like he had the audience that could get it out there and actually make the point heard. And that's where someone like Keemstar comes in. It's like when you have news sources. You might have something that needs to be discussed, but unless you put it through the channels, unless you put it out there in the open, how are people actually going to be able to discuss it? How are we actually going to be able to find a solution if we don't actually know what the problem is to begin with? And that's what I feel like this case came down to. I don't feel like Keemstar was necessarily doing this as much for selfish reasons or the money as Matt tried to claim. I do honestly feel like he did have altruistic and the greater good, as well as trying to ward off a potential adpocalypse, which again is another video for another time, and my thoughts on that, because I have thoughts that are kind of, I'll just say, unique on the whole apocalypse situation and how I would actually personally fix that, but that's neither here or there right now. Back to the topic at hand, though, I do feel like there is actually a solution to this, and I feel like this is something that does need to be discussed, but we shouldn't be discussing it from the standpoint of, oh, apocalypse will just ruin YouTubers, and oh, YouTubers are working behind the scenes about it. Well, yes, they are, as I said. We're not necessarily privy to the inner sanctum of YouTube and exactly what they're doing, despite what Keemstar has said. Like, I think they had been working on this sort of child porn ring, just to put it as simply as I can, before Matt's video. However, I think Matt's video did help sort of direct them even further towards where they needed to target their sort of hammer, or ban hammer if you will. As I said, IP banning from YouTube and Google surfaces the people that were involved in timestamping, commenting, or even re-uploading the videos in the case where the original video was actually the girl or minor themselves that uploaded it, and it was just ripped and re-uploaded once the initial video was either deleted or pulled down. And making sure that you have some sort of age filter. Yes, I know they already have an age filter, but what I mean by that is the whole monetization situation. Make sure that the parents approve of a video having advertisements on it. Otherwise, it just feels like you're exploiting it. It just feels like you're almost inviting these sort of creeps or pedos or nonces to your video if you're allowing it to be monetized. Because of course, sure, you can say, oh, the titles and thumbnails alone are another thing that do need to be looked at, because some of these are simply put raunchy. And that's been the issue with all the other exploitation videos that you see commentators talk about, is that they use raunchy thumbnails. Now, as I said, I don't have a problem with drawing attention to the subject at hand. However, there is a certain amount of tact that is required in doing so. And these videos, along with the general talking about children, female and males alike on YouTube, lack. And that's just me putting it bluntly for you. I don't think people know or understand the consequences or the implications that could follow if you're not wary of how you're constructing your thumbnails when it comes to children. Anyway, as for what I said, again, my solution is to IP ban, not just block comments, because again, I feel like that doesn't quite fix the root issue. It helps in regards to denying these pedophiles the chance to timestamp it for themselves. But I feel like you should just restrict their access from watching it together. From watching it all together. And now I know that is virtually impossible. And even with an IP ban, they can still watch and filter the content as they so please. but it means that they can't necessarily exploit it, so to speak. Now, another thing, and this ties into the YouTube's new community guidelines rules that they are bringing in, and the supposed fourth strike, aka the warning. I feel like when it comes to cases of like child exploitation or even child porn, it should be immediate ban. No warnings, no temporarily freezing them, rather just straight up banning them. Preferentially IP banning them, and also trying to find a way to make sure that they can't watch the content. Now, age restricting doesn't work, unfortunately, because again, most of these pedophiles are old enough to watch the videos, even if you age restrict them. I don't have exact ages on me, but I would say they're probably in the 25 to 35 age range. But that's just that's just what I would call a sort of a view, or rather just a hypothetical situation. It's a hypothesis. I have no ways of proving or disproving the demographic because I don't have the actual statistics in front of me. Either way, that doesn't matter. And yes, there is the issue, there is the loophole, and I do appreciate MattsWhatItIs opening it up for a discussion. But again, his approach, and he's trying to cause this apocalypse when the whole collateral is not needed, and you should focus specifically on the situation at hand rather than trying to paint all YouTube with the same brush. We've seen it before. Again, I do say that I have more interesting viewpoints on apocalypses as a whole, or rather the advertisers' rights in regards to removing ads from YouTube videos, but that's for another video. Either way, I hope you guys learn more about this situation. I hope you guys understand that yes, YouTube are now doing something about the loophole because they know about it. It's just that simple. It's just that logical. And to not just jump on things, and to not just go to certain conclusions or take certain attack zones or attack points and approach the topic in a rational, reasonable manner so that you can actually find a solution and that you can actually push the cause towards what you're wanting the end game to be. Because I believe that is something that we are actually all unified in. But I'll let you all go for now, and stay tuned for the next video. Bye!